we did have some shakeup this week. Now, you had the game between, and I talked about it being a really big game. You had the game between Mississippi State and Alabama. Mississippi State was number 1. Alabama was 95, number 5. And after
they were 95. This is not looking good for them.
And they jumped all the way to number 1. So that is, oh man, that is spectacular. My lights keep flickering on and off, it seems like. But so it was a big game. Now, they only won 25-20. Actually, it was a little bit more of a win for Alabama than that. The score is closer than the game really was. But it was an impressive win. You had T.J. Yeldon showing off why he's going to be one of the top wide receivers in the draft this year. So it was a good game. But it was kind of surprising to see Alabama jump all the way from number 5 to number 1. I knew this would propel them into the top 4, but I didn't think it would leapfrog quite like they did, because they jumped over Oregon, who still won. They jumped over FSU, which I'm not surprised. All I see for FSU is falling back. But it was pretty surprising. Now, I'm not surprised to say that Alabama is in the top 4, or that they would eventually get to number 1. I figured that they might be at number 1 by the time if they won out throughout their season, because they still do play Auburn for I think their last game of the season, and then there will be the SEC championship game. So I expected them to have some really quality opponents left to play. And, probably strength of schedule-wise end up number 1, but it was kind of surprising to see them make that jump right here. Then you have Oregon. They stayed in at number 2. Now, they don't really have any big hurdles left on their schedule. I think they have 2 games left. Nobody that big to play, but they will have to play the Pac-12 champ. I just can't speak tonight. Yeah.
Nope.
Can't do it. Nope. Not tonight. But they do still have the Pac-12 championship game, so that'll be an interesting one. But they should. I don't foresee any problems for them until that game, and then even that game, they're pretty darn good. They've beaten everybody already in there. And then number 3, you have FSU stayed the same. Florida State. Again, people are griping because this is the only undefeated team in the top 65 of the rankings, because they do it all the way back to like 65. So people are like, why aren't they number 1? They haven't lost even last year. Well, that's because they don't really play anybody. They like to give up these halftime deficits. Like when they were playing Miami this past weekend, they were down by like 10 points going into halftime. When they played Louisville, they were down by 21. Sure, they come back and win. That's why they don't fall too far back in the rankings. But they're not dominating these teams that they should be dominating with their ranking. And then you have number 4, Mississippi State.
Strategy, though. Maybe they let the other team get a little ahead, so they feel a little nice about themselves, so they think they have the momentum, so they can just show, hey, guess what, we can momentum shift this. We're done.
Yeah, that's cool, like if you're playing Madden or something like that. And I am a fan of doing that in Madden, like, oh, let him think that he's good and make this running play. And then when he tries it 100 times in the second half, like, it worked in the first half. Yeah, but they're not playing Madden, so you got to be careful doing something like that. But yeah. And then you have number 4, Mississippi State. They did fall back to number 4, but like I said last week, I didn't see them. I saw them being the only team in the top 4 that could possibly lose a game and still make it into this playoff system. Now, they do have one big game left playing Ole Miss, who has fallen back a little bit, especially after the loss of their star wide receiver Treadwell. But, if they win out, I don't know, you could still see Mississippi State fall out. Even if they win out, because TCU is right behind them. They don't have any big games, but they beat Kansas this past weekend, and Kansas isn't very good, and they didn't beat them by that much, so that's, I think, why they fell out of the top 4. But you see how Ohio State is kind of surging. They only have 1 loss, and they're going to have to play Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. So that's going to be an interesting matchup, and that will be a premier matchup. So if they win that, don't be surprised if you see Mississippi State get bumped out and Ohio State make it into that top 4. But we still do have, I think, 3 more weeks of these rankings, and then we'll have a month until the games actually get played. So we have more fun stuff to talk about. And, Brendan, your dark horse has fallen out of the top 25, and that is Notre Dame.
I still believe.
You still believe. It's even darker of a horse now. Ha-ha.
They're playing that game where they want to fall back so that they can come back in the end.
Well, and another team I want to mention is number 7, Baylor. They're another really good team, and they seem to be able to put up 56 points every week. Now, that being said, they seem to give up about 45 every week, so anything can happen. But the problem is that the Big 12 does not have a championship game anymore. Because the way the NCAA rules regulate is you can't have a championship game unless your league has at least 12 teams in it. So like a couple years ago when the ACC brought in Virginia Tech and Miami and Boston College from the Big East, they were really trying to have a championship game.
That feels like a weird rule, to be honest.
Well,
like I
it
understand
makes
that they
sense,
want to
you know.
have enough teams and make it a meaningful championship, but I don't see why we can't just say, hey, it's our group.
'Cause
Why
that's
would
just how
we
they
have
do it.
just a championship? Like everyone's going to know that it's less meaningful because we have less players, but
my only thing about this is that it's called the Big 12, meaning that there's 12 schools in there, but I believe there's only 10, and the Big 10
that's a little
is
bit
called
weird,
the Big 10,
too.
but there's really 12 teams in it.
Yeah, they might want to switch. I guess I know that they've like trademarked it or whatever like a while
I
ago.
mean, I guess they
but
can't
come on
switch the league names, but they really should, because one has 10 and one has 12.
Maybe
so,
they shouldn't keep naming them based off of numbers. Maybe they need to figure
like
something
the
else
Pac-12,
out.
The Pac-12 was easy. They were the Pac-10. They got two teams, Utah and somebody else, I can't remember. And then they went from the Pac-10 to the Pac-12. Easy enough. ACC, boom, easy enough. SEC, easy enough. You know, it doesn't matter how many teams are in there.
I just think that maybe they need to drop the numbers in general.
Probably
like,
staying
find
away
something
from the
else.
number system is better. Yeah, I agree.
Like south, north. Even if you add a team for whatever, people know where it started. East, west, or just some other number like the college football conglomerate. Whatever. Just stay away from the number so that you can shift things around.
Stay away from conglomerates too.
Nah, come on, you don't like conglomerate? No one's even going to know. It's just going to be like CFC. Everyone's going to abbreviate it anyway.
Well, they might. That's true. But hit us up. Let us know what you think. Which one of these top four teams is going to fall out of the top four, and which one of the ones outside the top four are going to make their way in? Hit us up. Comments down below. Of course, at Where's My Face on Twitter. Where's My Face at gmail.com. Google Plus and Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us.